Good morning. My name is Tiffany Elizabeth Bloxham. I'm a student at Concordia University, Portland, Oregon, working on my master's degree in curriculum, and I'm completing an assignment for my class, Community of Learners, for Week 3, specifically reflection on culture, ethnicity, and race. A loaded topic, especially in our current climate. But an important topic to talk about. One of the TED Talks we watched in this class, actually from Jay Smooth, talked about how he loves talking about this divisive issue and how it's actually an issue that can bring about good dialogue and conversation, and actually maybe even fix some of our false ideas as well. Our first question deals with how do social identities such as culture, ethnicity, and race impact our school, my students, and myself. So first of all, I feel fortunate that I grew up in a very diverse, climate in my school. So when I went to school, I had people from all different religions and races and ethnicities. It was in Orange County, so maybe not as diverse as an urban city, but definitely have some diversity. And then I get to teach in Central Valley, California, in Visalia, and it has a diverse population as well. Many different races, ethnicities, and religions. Maybe a little bit more Christian and Catholic religions in this area, but definitely a mix of races and ethnicities. I think it benefited me to grow up in a community that celebrated those differences and those diversity, that diversity aspect that we had, but it definitely helped me teach in a diverse community and culture. Different types of diversity, but definitely helped me appreciate differences and kind of adapt. For my current students, I think they're really aware of diversity and differences, and I think they actually are maybe more tolerant than our mass culture, to be honest. So I have seen them over the past 7 years with their differences work together, and for the most part be really tolerant of each other and really love and work with each other as well. For my school and my school community, we have some programs that have been set up to help some of our diverse populations. For example, we are in a low-income area, so our district has actually set up programs that have helped families that are lower income through after-school tutoring and through some summer school opportunities that are offered to the students for free. So there's definitely some forethought. The district has put some time and effort into creating beneficial programs for students that come from challenging groups such as low economic status, where they need and require some more support, I guess is a good way to put that. The second question is, what assumptions do we make about people from different races, ethnicities, and culture? Specifically, we watched a video called The Lunch Date, and in that video, we see this woman who seems maybe well-to-do, white middle-class woman, and she's rushing around trying to catch her train, and she bumps into this man who is African-American, and he is trying to help her, and she doesn't want his help. She's in a rush, and she kind of scoffs him off. And then later on, basically, she orders a salad because she missed her train, and she barely had enough money for it because she lost some of her money, or maybe lost her wallet or whatnot. She grabs her salad, puts it at a table, goes and gets utensils, and then comes back, and there's this man sitting at her table eating her salad, and she kind of gives him a look and is like, "That's my salad." And so she starts eating the salad, and this man is he's wearing working clothes, so he looks like he's on his lunch break. He was working, and he's also African American. And she is sharing the salad with him, and then the man goes and gets a cup of coffee for her, and they have a cup of coffee, and she kind of like releases her tension and is kind of like, okay, and tries to go um, to her new train. And then she realizes, oh, her shopping bag. So she goes back and she goes to her table, and she actually discovers that her table was the one behind, and her salad's still sitting there with her shopping bags. And she is like, oh my gosh, just relieved. So you can see that video through humor was able to show how sometimes we make these assumptions about people based on their race, based on ethnicity, religion, that aren't always true. I think in my class, I really see a lot of learning opportunities because I teach economics and government and civics. Within my government class, we do a lot of hot topics and debates and discuss issues that are controversial. So it really provides time to have teachable moments where we can talk about how we can be different and even have different views, but still coexist and tolerate and work together. One specific assignment that I've done in the past kind of focuses on the court case of Bakke versus the UC Regents of California, and it actually focuses on reverse discrimination. And an activity that I have, we have 8 made-up students, and we go through their criteria, and they have to admit 3 into their pretend university, and we look at, what are the stereotypes about these different students, and we talk about, even before they get to rank their kids, which groups tend to have higher attendance rate at college, and why, and which groups kind of benefit from different areas. And the students actually tell me that these assumptions. So they assume that the white students come from money, maybe not millionaires, but they have some wealth. They usually tell me Asian students are just smart, and so that's why they get in and they do well in school. They usually tell me that African American students go to college and they're good at sports, and so they usually have sports scholarships. So, and they go through all these different groups and they kind of explain their assumptions about them. We talk about why they have those assumptions, where they get those assumptions from. Are they accurate? Are they not accurate? Should we base our decisions based on these assumptions? And we have a good dialogue and good discussion. And this is usually a lesson that we have at the end of the school year. So it's really a fun topic, and it gets them to think. And I've known them for the whole school year, so we can really have these open discussions, and I'm not worried about offending or we've had and set up a safe classroom environment, so my students are pretty open and we discuss it. I think also something else that I've experienced is I came from a diverse school in Orange County, California, which is extremely wealthy, and now I work in a diverse school in a lower socioeconomic status. And so there are some assumptions that I came into my school district with based on what people have told me or things that I had read. So coming from a very high achieving, very driven student body, moving to not as high achieving school and not as high achieving student body, I was worried about some of the student habits that might have been formed. And so that was some assumptions that I had to kind of work through on my own in those first couple of years. And just, I think one of my principals, my first principal, really helped us as a school through that, but also me through discussions and meetings. We talked about how all students can learn and what that looks like. I'm positive he read like this book. I know he did. Some of the things that I remember him saying were like verbatim from the book. So it was a really great principle that helped me kind of work through, all students can learn and how do we get them to that level. So making sure they have those opportunities. The third question, Sishel's and Bacon's question from 2015 is, why is there a dichotomy where some students achieve and some students do not? It was from the book, page 207. And I think I have 3 reasons why some students achieve and some students do not. So the first one I have is grit and drive. From my experience, my students that are really high achievers want to succeed. They have this grit to them, this tenacity and integrity to kind of work hard to achieve their goals. And they're really motivated, self-motivated, sometimes family motivated. Their parents are motivating them as well, but usually they have something in them that's able to kind of push through and work hard to achieve their goals. The second thing I put down was they have a strong foundation. So I teach high school and I get seniors. So they have gone through 10 plus years of education. So if they come to me with a strong foundation through, through the schools, but also at home, their parents have supported them with educational opportunities outside of school, whether that's just reading to them and working on their homework with them, or whether they're taking field trips or doing camps or participating in extracurricular activities. They have a very strong foundation in how the world works. They have their soft skills. They have their ability to sit in a classroom and interact with people appropriately. They also have just some of the basic, at my level, things that you need to succeed. They know how to write a sentence and they know how to form paragraphs well. So those are some reasons why they succeed and achieve over other students that do not. And then my third reason is they have the skills. This is an area I think that we can help with. So the other two is we can kind of try to encourage our students and motivate them, and we should. And we can also try to support students with outside activities. But in my classroom, I think the biggest thing that we can do is focus on some of those skills, those prerequisite skills that they need to achieve and succeed in all of our classrooms. So that is an area I think our principal also talked about. What can we change? There are things that we cannot change. We cannot change their home life. We cannot change what they have access to, but we can change what we have in the time in our class. And so I think that's something that we can work on, and it's an area why some students succeed and some don't. They have the skills or they don't have the skills. But this is definitely the sweet spot where we as educators can come in and provide those skills for all of our students. So I think that's some reasons why they achieve over others. The fourth question is, why is it important to develop equity in your classroom? Okay, so I'm going to just read my answer because I wrote it probably the way I wanted to say it. It's important for all students to have the skills and abilities to succeed in the classroom and beyond. If we ask students to write an essay, each student should have those skills to do it. It is something that is so important that every student has the skills to succeed. So that's why we need equity. If some of our students come to us lacking in kindergarten from home, that's not their fault. So as a school, we need to help prepare those students to build their reading skills, to build their math skills. We need to provide them with those skills no matter where they came from. And if they have extra skills when they get to us, that's a bonus for us. We can work on those extra skills. Something else that I thought was interesting was in the state of Massachusetts, we studied Paul Reville, I believe, found that students were left behind because they didn't have those basic skills. So they were trying to figure out how to build their population up, build their workforce up, starting in the schools, and they found that some of those basic skills weren't there. So it's our job to provide those basic skills. It's important to give all students equal opportunity by providing those skills. The last question is, how will this perspective affect what you teach, and how will you teach it? In Sichels and Bacon's school district, Abington School District, I think one of their greatest weaknesses is that they were willing to recognize that there were gaps, that there were issues, and they didn't just stop there. They were committed to making changes. So for my own classroom, I have been, but I think I'm going to even work harder on recognizing what those gaps are, and I'm committed to making changes to make sure my students have what they need and they can fill those gaps. Like soft skills. For example, in economics, we do a personal finance segment where we talk about interviews and resumes and, try to look for jobs that match your personality. And I think that's a great mini unit that I can kind of focus on some of those soft skills, like how to give a proper handshake and how to look someone in the eye in an interview, how to, just the difference between professional language and, personal and recreational language. It's a great time that I've had time to kind of work with my students on those different skills, those soft skills. I think I'm going to be a little bit more intentional about that particular unit. And then another area in class that we kind of can focus on providing some of those soft skills that would create equity would be in my debates. In my government class and civics class, we talk about these hot topic issues that can be controversial. So if we can set up how to properly debate and what correct arguing looks like, as opposed to maybe what they see at home, then we can help set up some proper skills that they can use in the workforce and beyond. In addition, I think one thing that our schools are great at is providing standardized testing. So I think we can use, kind of like Abington also used their test scores and their data, we can use that to help figure out where our missing links are. So I think that's something that I would definitely try to be more intentional about. We are provided a great software program that has a lot of those standardized test scores for our students already in there loaded. So I can look at students' test scores and see maybe some of their missing gaps. I think their freshman or sophomore year, they're given a reading diagnostic test, and so I can look at the results from those to kind of see what their gaps are. Is it vocabulary? Is it coding? And try to work with my students on that. I think that's it. The week was really a great week learning about these different school districts and how they've approached equity, and kind of listening to different people's perspectives on assumptions has been pretty eye-opening and helpful. So I'm excited to kind of start my school year next week. It's crazy. And kind of put some of these things into action. So thank you, Dr. Jones. I appreciate your time, and I think I'm done.